Welcome, everybody, to the Borderline Hostility podcast. I'm your host today, Barry. Joining me is Derrick. Wave your hand. Say hi.
What's up?
Will, say hello.
Hello.
Tim.
Word.
All right, so it's October. We thought it would be an excellent time to discuss Halloween movies, horror movies. Everybody loves top 5, top 10 lists. Something that's always can be debated. It just makes fun conversation. So something that we wanted to start the podcast off with today, though, was what you doing. Kind of let y'all know what we're up to, what's been going on lately. So I told Derrick before we started the podcast that I started a fire today. Like I burnt a mattress in the backyard and thought I was going to get the cops called on me because it was an inferno back there. It was it was fucking heavy. Like so we've got a little fire pit in the back, and I brought the mattress out and set it on top of the fire pit and lit one of the corners, and it took, and it's burning a little bit, and then all of a sudden on the other side of the mattress, on the back side, just a hole opens up, and then all of a sudden another hole opens up, and all of a sudden the entire thing's engulfed in flames. And I live in a pretty tight neighborhood with some nosy ass neighbors in the back that are always complaining about other neighbors, so they're bitching about us. So at one point in time, though, my backyard was almost entirely smoke filled. It was bad. If it wasn't so cloudy this morning, it would have been it'd been pretty. I thought for sure. I mean, there was a fire engine at one point in time in my neighborhood. I'm not shitting you. I heard it approach, and then I also heard it pass me going away. So I was like, cross my fingers. There was no fines or jail time. I don't know what the hell is going on. I don't know what you do.
To be fair, the city you and I both live in, burning your trash is not out of the ordinary.
Well, yeah, there's that.
And also, if that happens again, the best thing you can do is put a tire on it.
That's true.
That'll help with the smoke.
What are you talking about? Because it make it a lot worse.
Yeah.
Also been trying to watch some of my movies that are on my list because it's been a while since I've seen some of them, so I wanted to make sure these are my top 5 jams for Halloween. This is it. So that's what I've been doing this week, and of course watching the ridiculousness that is our lives right now. So D, what you been up to?
Well, I bought a 5th car, so I currently own 5 cars. Let's see if I can put this up real quick.
Are you trying to build the transformer that used to, like, you combine them? You remember that?
There you go.
Let's see what Derrick's
Another Subaru SVX.
Is this a parts car or what?
No, this is a better version of the one that I already had.
I dig it.
Damn it.
Those windows, man, they're always so bizarre to me. I've never seen a car that does that before.
So I've been doing. So I got that. Been playing mechanic. I've been watching The Boys, Cobra Kai, and I've been busting my way through the Venture Brothers. I can't believe like that they've been on the air for like I think like 15 years. It's crazy. But then again, they also don't really put a lot out. They're kind of slow.
Yeah.
So they still do, like, as far as I know, they still do standard animation and stuff like that. So that shit takes forever.
Will, what you been up to?
I recently got all 124 Pink Panther cartoons, and I've been watching those, and been reading those Dungeons and Dragonlance novels.
Right.
And I started reading Charlie Wilson's War. That they made a movie about it a couple years ago with Tom Hanks and Philip Seymour Hoffman. And the book, it's weird. The movie's only like 97 minutes, but it goes really fast. This book is like 600 pages. And it's all just about like fucking this crazy politician who gets linked up with this drunk CIA guy, and they're both pussy hounds. And it's a good story, but I don't know how accurate it is because the CIA is connected to it. And that's been about. And I've been playing the very first Far Cry and the very first Unreal Tournament.
Man, you're going back.
Yeah, I missed those games when they were new, so they're new games to me now. Even though some of them, the Unreal Tournament, like, you know, it looks like a game from 2002.
Pretty old.
It is.
But it's
Tim?
fun though.
Tim, what you been doing?
Nothing.
Nothing.
At least
Watching the finals at least?
Yeah, I'll do that. I watch a lot of boxing, and what I do is so I don't have to watch commercials. I DVR live sports now, and then I just avoid the news, and then I go back and watch it. And to be honest, what I've been watching a lot lately is a lot of the Murder Channel stuff, ID Discovery, and episodes of Dateline. And I've even gone back. Oh yeah. I've also gone back and watched some old episodes of Unsolved Mysteries because those are all streaming online now. So, yeah.
Well, I said if someone that has social anxiety, those are always the best thing to watch. I feel like they really help you get back out there and get out into the public.
I don't have social anxiety at all.
I can't watch them. I don't like big crowds and that
really?
sort of stuff. Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Oh, I don't have.
I got some anxiety for sure.
I totally have it, and but I can watch those. Those old Unsolved Mysteries. It's funny to go back and watch them. And it's like, we believe this shit back then because some of them are so like ridiculous.
That's great.
Did you all? I'm trying to. If I remember, if I put it public, we're not on Facebook. There's an episode of Rescue 911. That's the funniest shit I've ever seen in my life.
I remember you posting that.
Okay, Barry, Derrick, you guys go. I should have. I wish I would have thought about this. But this is a quick story. I remember it when I was a kid. There's two prominent stories that happened to me when I was a kid where I got scolded for watching TV. This is one of them. The episode of Rescue 911, they're talking about a guy who was skydiving. And he jumps out of the plane and he's telling the story. So he survived it, right? But there's video everywhere. I mean, there was cameras on the plane. There's cameras following him down to the ground. And there's camera crew on the ground. So it was like they try to capture every possible moment of his jump, right? He jumps out and his parachute doesn't open. And he's falling faster and then he's just dead weight. And his emergency chute, it doesn't work at all. And then Rescue 911, they went to commercial, and it lasted about 6 minutes, right, when I was a kid. But the whole time, we were just thinking, this guy's falling and he's dead weight. They were not going to show it, right? Well, they come back. And this motherfucker, they didn't show him hitting the ground, but you heard him hit the ground. And it made the funniest noise ever. And I started laughing, and my dad got so goddamn mad at me. He goes, how'd you feel if that was you? And I'm like, well, Dad, I wouldn't jump out of a plane.
You'd also be dead, so you wouldn't feel anything.
No, the thing is, the guy somehow survived. He's fucked up, and he's telling the story, but it was just, you could tell it changed his life.
I mean, there's a handful of people that have survived, jumping out of a plane and absolutely nothing to slow them down, parachute-wise, and surviving. Usually they go through trees and shit. And usually get fucked up pretty bad. So you said you made a funny sound. It was like a clown horn or something? I'm trying to figure out what a funny sound is.
Man, it was a splat noise, and you would swear it was like a bucket of shit hitting the ground. It was funny as shit.
There's probably a little bit of that in there, though.
Well, there's your dark humor for the day.
Oh my god. Well, do you guys want to break the silence here and discuss our top fives? I don't know what anybody's got. I don't know anybody's picked. I've watched so many movies with Derrick, so I know his taste. But I have no idea what the hell he's put on this list. Derrick knows I've got some 1910 Thomas
Edison. You better not have the original. You better not have the
Mm-hmm.
original House on Haunted Hill on there. Oh
Son
my
of a bitch.
god!
Son of a bitch!
I like that movie.
It's a great movie.
Is that the one with Vincent Price?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
No, now the problem I have with that one is because it's all fake at the end, right? It's all like
yes and no. It's
they make it out to be all fake at the end, but then it's like there's no way they could have done that fucking effect. Like they couldn't have done that shit.
Okay.
But Anyway.
So I guess since Derrick called me and found a way to, he knows exactly my taste here. My top 5, with one being A House on Haunted Hill, Rosemary's Baby. It was hard to decide on one Universal, but Wolfman stands out to me. I just love Wolfman as you have the Frankenstein castle behind me there, but Wolfman was my other choice for background. Night of the Living Dead, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Those are my 5. Anything shock you, Derrick?
No. I need to go back and watch both because, like right now, I would say that I like the Night of the Living Dead remake or the second one more because I thought the second one was excellent. The one, I mean, it's pretty much the exact same thing.
The one with the girl with short.
Yeah,
short hair.
But that Night of the Living Dead was actually on my list, and I have this one that's also on your list on my list. So you'll be proud.
Okay.
I guess I can open up because of that. Texas Chainsaw is one that we share.
Okay.
I want, like, you know, and we always discuss stuff like movies and films. I'm always like, you know, I could care less when you give me a top list, unless it's like a top, like, oh, there's a top like most well engineered or, you know, forward thinking movies. Like if you're just gonna say movies, I'm gonna say what I like to watch. I could care less how innovative they were. But Texas Chainsaw had so much like it was such a thing of its time, and you know I feel like it really pushed horror movies in like a certain direction. But the only other like older movie I guess you could say that I have is The Thing. That one's just an excellent horror movie. A couple modern ones. I thought It Follows was pretty good. That was just like creepy as shit. Never seen that, Barry?
No, I've never seen it. I know I've seen on all these lists, but I've not.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've been dead for like the last 20 years in terms of horror movies. So.
Oh man, I think one of the best horror movies in a long time is Hereditary. That one is just so freaking messed up, and
I haven't seen either one of those.
Oh man. And then Cabin in the Woods rounds out my list because in a way you could say it's not horror because it's kind of a parody of the horror and everything, but it was.
Oh, that movie's great.
It was an excellent addition to the horror franchise. Like it's something we needed at that time.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Tim, since you're speaking of, you're gonna go next, and then I guess we'll round this out, and then we'll just start. We'll go back and around the circle and talk about why we chose each of these.
Yeah, I think mine are probably pretty mainstream. Top 5, no particular order. Got the original Halloween. Got the original The Fog, which that one has sentimental value. Watched that as a kid with my dad. I think that's why it's stuck. But I do love it. I try to watch it every year. Another one that's like you said, Derrick, is kind of a parody, but I watch it multiple times a year, is Shaun of the Dead. Love that movie.
Nice.
Then I got Dawn of the Dead, also the original. I love that where they're in the mall and all that shit. So fucking great. And then rounding it out, I was having trouble deciding, but I decided to go with 1408. I thought that movie was a lot of fun.
It's one of those, psychological. It's one of those movies you're watching, and you get kind of imprisoned with the character while you're watching it.
Yeah, and Stephen King. It's good stuff.
The movie man, our own film critic here.
He's like that cartoon, The Critic.
I'm waiting for these because we'll go so deep sometimes. I'm like, what the hell is that?
I would probably not have heard of any of these movies.
Man, I don't think it's probably gonna be disappointing because these are all somewhat mainstream, and a couple of them have already been mentioned already.
Oh man!
All right, who replaced Will?
All right, I went from 5 to 1. The number 5 is 7.
Oh right, yeah.
Just because, like, man, that fucking I hated it when it came out. Just because it was one of those movies where it was ruined the first day it came out because people just blew the fucking ending, and they couldn't keep their goddamn mouth shut. So, and it sucks because it's sort of like the same thing with Casablanca and Psycho, where those movies have been they were ruined my entire life, and I never got the chance to get surprised by them.
Yeah.
All right, number 4 is The Serpent and the Rainbow. It's a Wes Craven movie from 1988. Scares the shit out of me.
Bill Pullman.
Yes, but
Yeah.
the guy who's the bad guy in that movie, he's a South African actor, and his name is I'm pretty sure I'm saying it wrong, but Zach Smokey. And it's weird because in other movies he's friendly, but in that movie he is the scariest motherfucker alive. He's scary like Brock Lesnar's scary, like that. He'll fucking he'll slit your throat and like use you as a condom to fuck other things.
Is that in the movie?
To quote Joe Rogan. Number 3, Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Damn, that's 3.
It fucked me up when I was a kid. When we go back around the horn, I'll tell a story about the first time I watched it. Number 2 is The Fog.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
The original, right?
Yeah.
That remake, like all those remakes from that era, they always suck because they always try to incorporate modern technology into it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the remake, like I don't know if you all ever saw Black Christmas.
Yeah.
Shit, the one with When a Stranger Calls. Like they both remade both those movies have been remade, and they try to incorporate cell phones.
Right.
It just sucks because cell phones would have ruined most movies from that era.
Yeah, Black Christmas, didn't they couldn't get a signal or their battery died or something?
Yeah, but it's fucking horrible. But the Fog remake's fucking horrible.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And number 1's Exorcist.
Yeah, I figured that'd be out there somewhere.
I mean, like
influential movie.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I'm sorry, disappointed by not going deep. And the oldest movie, the movies the oldest movie I went was Exorcist, and the newest one I guess is Seven.
I mean, Serpent and the Rainbow's a little, out of the main, I guess you could say.
Well, Wes Craven had an interesting career. Like, he did those 70s movies, The Last House on the Left and The Hills Have Eyes. They fell into that Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of genre where they look like they were filmed like cops used to be filmed. Like they didn't seem like movies, but like this weird snuff documentary kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then then the Nightmare on Elm Street came along after about 10 years after Last House on the Left, and he redefined the slasher genre, and then 10 years after that he did Scream, which put the final nail in the slasher genre.
Yeah.
But between Nightmare on Elm Street and Scream, he did 3 or 4 pretty cool movies that are they're classics, but not like People Under the Stairs and Serpent and the Rainbow and Shocker.
What are your thoughts on Scream, Will?
It's another movie I hated when I was a kid because it came out around the same time as Seven, and I hated it when I was a kid just because it was ruined for me.
Oh yeah,
I mean, because that's one of those movies you don't even want to watch a trailer for it,
right?
Because the trailer
as I got older, I ended up really liking that movie.
Yeah,
that's why I was asking.
Yeah, it's weird. It grew on me afterwards. It's I started watching the sequels. Those are the sequels actually got better. It was weird because usually it's opposite.
We've got a lot to discuss here. I feel like I'd like to say something about Texas Chainsaw Massacre since all 3 of you had it on there.
Yeah,
just watched it last night too, so it's fresh.
One asshole did.
Yeah. No, the thing is that movie really does fuck you up as a kid. I'm sure you guys remember being a kid and have the same story of, oh, this is based on real stuff.
Yeah.
A guy chopped people up and sold their body parts as steak, and he worked at a butcher shop at the grocery store.
And
people really did come and buy it. Yeah, you might accidentally buy the steak that's human. It's like that was fucking real. And the only reason it doesn't make my list, I think, is because of how bummed I was when I found out that it wasn't true.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, go ahead, D.
I always remember him slamming that door.
Oh yeah.
And that was, I want to say it's one of the first movies I remember where they kind of did realistic reactions to trauma. Where like I think like the first person that dies, he's like clubs in the head, and the dude just kind of flailing on the ground and shit, which is like actually pretty realistic. And then the person getting hooked and stuff, like any other movies you get hit in the head and you just kind of fall on the ground and you're fucking knocked out. But then that one had the dude fucking, his body reacting while his brain's all kind of fucked up, and that kind of messed with me.
In wrestling terms, that's called the bass flopping.
Yeah.
I think.
We talked about it, sold as based on true events, and I had Cabin in the Woods as my on the bench, but the one that really was like, this should be Texas Chainsaw Massacre, just based on pedigree, quality, is Psycho. But I watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The reason it's on my list is that it's the one movie that terrifies me still to this day. Like, I sit there and chew my nails to the skin, because it still just drives me wild in terms of just getting my heart rate up. Like, it is just, they do good with the tension. It's not a supernatural movie. These things do happen. These things have happened.
Yeah.
And it's so well done. You're in the victim's head the entire time, and you're just like, God, that.
It's funny you say that, because like none of the movies that really scare me are on my list. Like they're not my favorites, but like I'm the same. It's kind of the psychological. Like, a movie that gets me is The Descent.
Yeah.
You guys remember that? Like, that movie fucking kills me up until there's like monsters, because then you're like, okay, now it's fake. Yeah. But when they're just like getting stuck in those underground caves,
I get.
And you're like, I'll never do that in real life.
Yeah, no way. There's no way anyone could ever convince me to do that.
There's people that do that shit underwater.
Yeah, because they're insane.
That's fucking crazy to me. Like, the whole idea of like, okay, well, there's a small hole in this rock, like, and there's hundreds of tons of like rocks on top of me. It'd be really fun if I crawled through it.
Well, like there was one, a real life thing recently. I can't remember who they were, but it was two people that went in one of those underground cave things and everything, and I believe they got just disoriented. They didn't get like trapped or anything by falling rubble, and they couldn't find their way out. And when they found their bodies, they found that they fought over the oxygen tanks. So
shit!
Fucked up.
That's got to be made into a movie.
There's another one, which it may have been the same one, but I don't think it was, because I think this one involved one individual. But individual went down in a cave and then didn't come back up, and they got this like all-star, like somewhat celebrity diver to go rescue him, and that fucker died too. That dude went down and didn't come up, and got hung up or disoriented or something like that. And so it was like someone went down and rescued both bodies, but yeah.
Speaking on The Descent, what was the watched it last year, actually on Halloween? It's the Paris Catacomb.
Oh yeah, I really like that too.
What is that?
As above, so below.
Yeah, that does an excellent job of just building that tension, and
that one's pretty good. But it also gets, like when it gets all crazy supernatural, it's kind of like, eh.
Yeah, no, I like it before then. The same with, did you guys see the one where the group sneaks into Chernobyl?
I haven't seen that one, but
oh man, it's because it feels realistic too. Like, they've got this. It's just some guys that are some young people that go over there, and they get promised by this dude who's kind of weird Russian dude. Like, yeah, okay, I can get you into Chernobyl, and they go there, and it's just, yeah, it's creepy. Like, you just watching it, you feel like I shouldn't be watching this. I'm getting radiation poisoning just watching this shit.
I feel like one of the ones that was on my short list was Session 9. I feel like that kind of fits in there too, where you kind of get the people's dread and like because that's where the guys are going to revamp a old insane asylum. You kind of
I haven't seen that.
Oh, that one's excellent. I love that movie. And I'm disappointed that Will didn't have either Nightbreed or Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space is a movie that I always remember it being on cable when I was a kid.
Yeah.
My sister's liking it, but I couldn't fucking stand it. I don't know what it was. I don't have a phobia of clowns or anything like that, but I just like that. It was one of those things where I just got mad that movie got made. Because I mean, like it's sort of like the same problem I have with like those shitty sci-fi movies that people went out of their way to make a horrible fucking movie. And like and if you try to make something and it sucks, at least you tried. But don't try to make something that sucks on purpose.
It's like your quintessential B movie, though. It's like every B movie.
Well, I want to chime in something about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There's two things about it that fascinate me to this day. The first thing is they spoil the movie themselves before you even see a single image. The opening narration, they tell you about like the horror that that the characters are going to go through, and that and that's amazing because you know what's going to happen, but there's still like 80 minutes of movie left.
Yeah.
And two, I can't figure out like when Psycho came out, they said that was a movie that like people were afraid to take showers. When Jaws came out, people were afraid to go swimming in the ocean. Hitchhiker shouldn't have been a thing after the very first Texas Chainsaw Massacre was out. Like, that fucker alone, they could have made a whole movie about that son of a bitch. Usually, like, in a horror movie, that would be, like, the main villain. But the main villain in Texas Chainsaw Massacre is his older brother.
Yeah.
And all that motherfucker's doing is just defending his house.
And Will, maybe you know the answer to this since,
yes, sir.
Like I said, you are our main. So what's the deal with Leatherface dressing up at the dinner? Like, does he dress up as the mom?
Well, there's a book that like it reads the subtext of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and they say that like he fills the role of the matriarch of the family. So he's got three different dresses, like one when he's being a butcher, two when he's cooking, and three when he's doing dinner. So like when he's doing dinner, he's got like lipstick on him. It's some creepy shit. but it's wonderful just because, I mean, like that dude should have been a star. Like that, I think his name's Gunnar Hansen, and I think he died a couple years ago. But the dude to play Leatherface was fucking amazing.
You don't get a lot out of him outside of grunts, but there's a scene where he is looking out the window. Somebody escapes, and he's like, "Where the hell did they go?" And you kind of get a real good close up of his face, and you kind of see some of his emotion through the mask, and it's pretty damn good. Something that, if we're done discussing Texas Chainsaw, that I want to talk about
go ahead.
is to me this is the most polarizing movie. It's either number one on everybody's list, or it's like top 5, and I'm like, I don't know why. I don't get it. Maybe if I was born in the 60s and saw it in theaters, I don't get Exorcist. I do not like Exorcist. I grew up with the Leslie Nielsen. Is it Repossessed?
Yes.
So that's where I got a lot of the Exorcist ruined for me. But I just don't. I don't do Exorcist. So what's?
Well, man, it's funny you say that. I was gonna bring it up too because when I was growing up, that was what everyone older than me talked about. Was like, oh no, that's the scariest movie ever. So then I remember me and a friend rented. We rented like when we were teenagers, we rented The Exorcist, and we're like, man, this is the movie everyone says is the scariest ever. And we watched it, and we're just like, look how fake that is when she's puking with her head like backwards. Like that's obviously a doll. And it's just like it didn't scare me at all. I thought it was kind of funny. Actually, yeah, I remember we were laughing at it. and that really bummed me out. So Exorcist wouldn't even probably make my top 30.
I think that plays into the expectations, and then by the time you watched it, and probably a lot of us watched it, we had already seen things as scary, if not scarier, things that scared us more.
Yeah,
and it's like you think back to things that scared you as a kid, and when you're a teenager and you watch that, you're just like, whatever. But I mean, I get and I agree with it being on Will's list. And
oh yeah, I would like to know, like, Will, why you put that number one? What are you seeing that we aren't?
Man, that movie, I don't know. I mean, the joke last week when we did our pilot episode was, "Hey, it's all right. You guys are wrong. Like, it's okay." But the thing is, that movie, man, if you think about it, like the four main characters, one's a mom, like a divorced mom. The other one's just a daughter who's going through puberty and is possessed by Satan allegedly. A priest that lost his faith because he's grieving over the loss of his mother, and a priest that like is an old guy who's been fighting evil his entire life. There's no real relatable character for, like, there's no like Kevin Bacon in the first Friday the 13th were like there's no Jamie Lee Curtis in the first Halloween where a character you can get behind. And the climax of that movie is two priests and a little girl in a bedroom in a house in Georgetown where good is fighting evil. And when they go in that room, and they got so fucking cold in that movie that you can see their breath. I'm kind of jealous of that because that's how I kind of want the air conditioning to be in my house. I could never get it quite that low, but and although some of the stuff just kind of like look kind of dated, there's shit that they did that didn't seem like the technology was there yet, and there's a documentary about The Exorcist that's fascinating because that movie, there's a bunch of movies from the 70s that were made and they appear to have been cursed, like The Omen and Apocalypse Now. The set for The Exorcist burned down like 2 or 3 times. And it was almost like, like Satan didn't want the movie to be released. And considering I'm an atheist and like I don't believe at all in Satan or God or any of that shit, the movie scares the fuck out of me.
Well, it's funny you say that because that's what I was just thinking. Was this probably part of the reason I didn't get it as much and don't like it that much is because I'm not religious either, and it's like I think all that shit's so funny. Like I love when they have like when 20 years ago did like we're recording a real live what do you call it? Exorcism. Yeah, a real live exorcism, and you see like this little girl, and they're holding her down, and she's cursing her parents, and I'm like, she's just lashing out. Fuck her. Pick her up and slap her around. Tell her to shut the fuck up. She'll be all right.
I'll give her something to cry about.
Hey, that's Tim's line.
I get what this group probably put on there, but the couple that I could see being up there would be The Omen that was just mentioned. And Poltergeist as well. Poltergeist, that was a fucking scary movie when I was a kid.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. I love that movie.
So Poltergeist is about Ari. So my stepdaughter is watched that last year, and I think she really enjoyed it. I've never been a Poltergeist person, but you also mentioned The Omen, which I was never an Omen fan.
No,
but last year I was traveling a lot through October and didn't get to hang out with the fam and do the horror movies like we usually do. But I watched that alone in a hotel, probably in freaking Pittsburgh. And that I became a fan of that. I had a friend that was her favorite horror movie. And I also, at that time, watched Rosemary's Baby. And I had never seen it.
Yeah,
until
I love your pick.
Last year, I was
Baby.
39 years old and never... That movie is so fucked up. I can't recall never seeing a Polanski movie before as well. So after that, I started watching some of his movies, and man, you kind of dude's a fucked up individual.
Yeah, he was fucked up.
Like, I watched Repulsion, very
more ways
similar.
than one.
Man, Repulsion that's a rough one. But Rosemary's Baby got me in a way. I guess it's a good segue from Exorcist because you definitely have a woman having Satan's child, and the occult and everything else. But
Yeah, and the rape scene is just why it's just weird.
yeah,
You're like, is she dreaming? Is what's going on?
I can't stand like the 70s era rape scenes. They're just fucking too much.
Oh, you see Straw Dogs?
Oh man,
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, me,
Oh,
Barry,
you
and
know-
Goldie watched that because it was
I think Matt had
Straw
Straw
recommended it.
Dogs.
one of
That's a
favorite
great
movies,
one.
and I remember mentioning, I was like, why the fuck do people like this movie? Like,
Yeah, I don't
can't
like that
stand,
movie,
a lengthy
but
rape scene.
it's too real.
Yeah,
It's oh my god, you're just sitting there going, just leave. Just fucking leave. Leave the town. If this bitch doesn't want to fucking leave, leave her. Who fucking cares? Get the fuck out of there. Something bad is going to happen. I hate that movie. But I like it. I like it because it fucks with you.
And then the end where he just finally snaps is pretty sweet in there.
Yes.
So you both have two of you have The Fog on your list, and me and Derrick watched that years and years ago, and I've seen it several times. I'm sure Derrick has too. But enlighten us as to why The Fog is on your all's list.
well, Tim already told us.
Yeah, it had sentimental value with my dad. But then after that, I really like it. I think it's a really good ghost story. It gives you the town's background, why everything's happening. And it's I think it's Will can probably correct me, but I think it's the movie that is it John Carpenter?
Yep.
That he did right after Halloween. Or it might have been after Halloween too.
No, it was after Halloween. He went on a run from 76 to 88. That's one of the best. That's one of the best runs ever in movies.
Yeah,
Assault on Precinct 13, Halloween, The Fog, Escape from New York, The Thing, Starman, A Big Trouble in Little China, and They Live. And there's the only other run is Hitchcock's run from Strangers on a Train to The Birds. That run because the Rear Window's in there, and Vertigo's in there, North by Northwest is in there, and Psychos. Those are the only two runs that are comparable.
Hitchcock doesn't get talked about the way he should nowadays. You don't hear younger people talk about, but if you go back and watch, those movies still hold up pretty well. Rear Window and Psycho, the other ones, they're fucking good. I think they are. Oh
yeah, they're fantastic. Vertigo, I have a problem with because that's one of those movies I never quite got, but that could be a discussion for the other day.
Same.
But finishing my thoughts on The Fog is John Carpenter took in 1974. Black Christmas and Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out, and basically that was the yin and the yang of the slasher genre, and they came out within months of each other, right? John Carpenter built on both of them when he did Halloween. But what happened was he opened a door with Halloween, and then all of a sudden you had Friday the 13th, and then you had Happy Birthday to Me, and Mad Men, and all these other cheap, some of them are good. My Bloody Valentine is great. I'll fight anybody over that movie. But John Carpenter, he kind of created the slasher genre, and The Fog could have easily been a slasher movie, but he didn't do it. He used mood Val Lewton or Mario Bava would have, and he made a simple ghost story. It's ghost pirates coming back to fuck a town up.
Yeah, that's it.
That's basically the slug line for the movie, and there's not a whole lot of gore in the movie. He uses a lot of sleight of hand.
Yeah,
but the thing is, I can't think of another movie where the sound scare the shit out of you.
Yeah,
because when those ghost pirates slice you up, it sounds when when the penetration comes, it sounds like like a hatchet hitting a watermelon, and and then when they move, when they slash up and stuff like that, it sounds like like clothes being ripped. It's fantastic. It sounds worse than it possibly could be, but you don't see it, so your brain does all the work for you.
Or the sounds when the ship rolls up and it's all foggy and they can't really see anything, but you hear this creaking of an old ship.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I gotta put this on the list because I haven't watched it. I mean, I think me and Dee rented it 20 years ago from Hancock's
in a long time.
I've not seen it since then. I don't think. And I mean, Carpenter's Carpenter, so yeah.
Well, that's the thing. That's why I asked Will when he made it, was because it has the same feel, directing wise, to me anyway, that Halloween had, and I love Halloween. It's maybe my favorite.
I was gonna once again segue to more Carpenter, which was Halloween and The Thing. So, recently watched Halloween, showed the kids. They were wanting to just burn through the entire franchise, and they were mad at me when I jumped to Halloween 3. And they're like, we didn't watch 2. And I was like, well, I watched Halloween 3 last night because here's why Halloween, the franchise, is built the way it is. Here's what the original plan was and why 3 exists. And don't worry about it. It's out of continuity. It's not Michael Myers, all this stuff. But we have this little TV we take outside. So we sit outside on the back porch at night and put Halloween on. Of course, we live in a neighborhood and everything else. And some of that doesn't translate to much the kids these days. They've seen a lot more gruesome things online.
Yeah, there's no blood in Halloween.
But that atmosphere should be enough to get you a little worked up. And I think that they were kind of getting involved, and they were really into the story, and they were cheering Laurie on. But my favorite scene from that movie, and it's could have been on my list easily because of just that scene, is the scene where he fades in to the picture. I think it's a closet that's opened, and she's turned around and looking, and all of a sudden, just out of the background, he just kind of, it doesn't look like he's walks in. There's no way that wasn't just a fade of some sort, because it's too perfect. We just slowly see his face.
Yeah.
God damn,
one of
that
the
makes
best
you
things with those movies is that it's a life cast of William Shatner, right? That he's wearing.
It was just a cheap mask of Shatner that they bought at a store, I think, and then painted.
I thought it was like an actual life cast of him.
No, they went to a Halloween store or a costume store, and that was in the discount thing, and they just spray painted it white.
So, Tim, you had it on your list. So, is Michael Myers to you the best of the slashers? And are those movies the best of the franchises? You got Friday the 13th, you got Nightmare on Elm Street, and you got Michael and Halloween.
He's my favorite.
He's my favorite too.
Nightmare on Elm Street, outside of part 1, I don't think Freddy was scary anymore. He just became more humorous.
Yeah.
Jason obviously got just
more
super ridiculous.
Jason is a great movie.
Yeah. But yeah, Halloween, it does it for a great scene in Halloween is near the beginning when the lady's driving up to the doctor's driving up to the insane place, and it's raining and all the crazies are just running out on the lawn. That's a creepy scene because you can put yourself in that situation like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah. They do just a great job too of just kind of placing him. I always love horror movies where you just here's a shot, and whatever in this back corner is the villain. Maybe someone just walks by, and then he's gone. It's so simple, but they use that a lot, and the action's good, strong. Go ahead.
Will.
Oh no! Did you all ever, Barry? You probably, I don't know if you ever heard that. Did you ever know about the Dr. Loomis part? Who was supposed to be who got offered to originally? The first John Carpenter's first choice was Christopher Lee, which is weird because I can't imagine Dr. Loomis being 6'5".
Yeah, that wouldn't have worked.
And the second one was Peter Cushing, because John Carpenter's a big Hammer fan. I mean, because he was at the age where he would have saw Hammer movies in the drive-in and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
And like
Cushing would have been great.
But Cushing was great. He never got the credit to do he was deserved because, I mean, like he actually, considering he did like a lot of like low budget horror movies, he was always quality in them. I mean, Christopher Lee complete opposite. He did whatever he could and got money. And if you hear him talk about it, he thinks he's the greatest actor that ever lived.
Who do they actually cast? Who is it? Donald? Is it
Don Pleasance?
Yeah, he does fine, but I mean, Cushing could do the scared shitless that Pleasance does. I don't see Lee being able to do that without being very fake about
looking goofy.
Yeah, you can't be that large of a presence and be like, "Oh my god!"
You can't put a 6'5" person up against probably equally 6'5" Michael Myers.
But I can see Cushing. Cushing could be just straight manic and like freak out. He's a small guy anyway, so like.
I like the guy he got because he's a little bit overweight. He was older, and it was like it's up to his revolver. Like if he doesn't get him with the revolver, he's fucked. Like he could have like a baseball bat, and Michael Myers will still overtake him. So he
wrote it out.
The weakness going for him.
He did that franchise until he died.
Yeah.
He just wrote it on. If I can, I'd like to mention real quick the Rob Zombie Halloween remakes. I liked them both, but I liked the second one better because I thought that was one of the nicer moves ever in a movie, which was he's making it look like it's going to be just like the remake of the actual Halloween 2. She's being chased around at like the hospital, and then all of a sudden it just switches on a dime, and it's a whole different movie from the original Halloween 2, and I fucking loved it.
I remember it being pretty good for a modern remake. I can't remember what you're talking about, the big switcheroo and stuff, but that one wasn't nearly as bad. The problem I have with the Rob Zombie movies is he has that 70s rape thing going.
Yeah, he's making that 70s style, and it's hard to watch. There's no one to root for. Yeah. Like I like the Devil's, or what's the first one? Not the Devil's Rejects.
House of Thousand Corpses.
I enjoy it. I own all of Rob Zombie's movies, but man, they're hard to watch because it's brutal. It's so brutal.
Yeah, I mean, I hate the movies where it's like the people just constantly get shit on, and like even like comedies, it's like what's that movie? It's that movie where like Dinner for Schmucks. It's like it's a comedy. I actually enjoy the movie, but like the entire movie, the dude's just getting shit on. Like it's like, why do you want to, especially when you have depression in the air, like these days, like why do you just want to see someone constantly get shit on and never fucking win?
Yeah, never win.
Well, D, I know that's something that you introduced to me that it's also the Carpenter thing that's on the list here is The Thing.
Yeah,
I'd never seen it growing up, and I think it was you that was like, hey, we have to watch this. So why is it on our list?
It's just excellent. I don't know. And that's another thing is like, and I kind of mentioned this, like I try to stray away from movies that weren't straight horror. Like I didn't want to put a drama in there because it has horror elements. And The Thing, like to some degree, isn't just a straight horror movie. There's, I can't think of like what other genres are in there, but I don't know. It's just like an excellent movie, and like the fucking the monster, all like the different forms the monster takes, and it's all like real shit, not special effects and everything. You got the dude that there's a couple of amazing things like when he's testing the people, see who has it, and then the one guy has it, and the fucking like he starts mutating the blood, and they're all tied down to the same bench, and he slams on the ground and lifts the whole bench up, and then you have the guy that goes to give shock panels to the dude. When he tries to do it, the fucking chest opens up and just bites his fucking hands off. Like there's some like fucked up body horror in that movie.
Yes, such great special effects.
Oh yeah, like
I miss that. I don't know about you guys.
I mean, it's essentially you can say it's real because it's not really special effects.
Right? Don't you guys miss that? Like
that
kind of special effects, as opposed to just CGI. Because now you see CGI and it's so perfect, and you're just like, they just CGI'd it.
Well, and I've never seen the remake or I guess it was a prequel, really. I've seen recently people have said it's like worth watching, but I've seen like scenes and the CGI is just so bad, and that's like God. Like if you had just gone like practical effects, it probably would have cost less, especially back then, and look a million times better.
Yeah.
Well, this is something me and a friend of ours, Brad, talked about long ago. We were watching the very first Ninja Turtles movie, the one with that came out in like the 90s.
Yeah, the horror one.
No, there was a point I was trying to make, dickhead.
Yeah,
but anyway, but we're talking about special effects, and it was weird because we were flipping between the Ninja Turtles movie and the first Anaconda. And Anaconda came out like 7 years after that Ninja Turtles movie, and the CGI effects in Anaconda are god awful. I mean, it's a god awful movie to begin with.
This river can kill you.
This river can kill you in a million ways.
John Voight, big Trump supporter.
God, terrible acting in that movie.
It sucks too because in Anaconda he sucks, but he's been brilliant in like 5 or 6 different movies.
Oh yeah.
But but anyway, that's near here or there. But how do special effects get worse with time? But like the Ninja Turtles actually look pretty good. I mean, like
really good. Yeah.
I mean that.
I'll touch on that because I remember getting an argument with me and Barry's friend Steve about that movie. Is the one thing I hate about that movie is the origin of Master Splinter scene, where you have like that was terrible effects. Where you have like a rat, a fucking normal ass rat doing kung fu in a cage. It's like I wish they had gone a different route with like his origin of that movie. But anyways,
well, it was still a comic book, you know.
So some of it, I mean, it's like one of my favorite movies, which I guess wouldn't have been on my list, was Screamers, and it has some horrendous special effects. And I think it has to do with where they put their budget, and also like they could still spend the same amount of special effects on this one as a better one, but I think it has to do with who they go with. It's like anyone that goes with like say Industrial Light and Magic, it's going to be knock it out of the park basically.
Probably.
So I'm gonna jump in here because we're talking practical effects and in the old ways, and bring up Jack Pierce and the Wolfman. I'm sure I made you watch Wolfman, D. Me and Will, I know we've seen it, but Tim, you've seen Wolfman?
Oh yeah, you're talking about the one from like what, the 40s or something?
Yeah, Lon Chaney.
Wolfman Jack.
Yeah,
Wolfman Jack says, "Flush your toilet."
So special place in my heart from Wolfman. I grew up, I guess in my old library, they used to have these little picture books. They were like the movie adaptations, and they had all the old Universal monsters in them. And then I remember, taping off TV Frankenstein versus Wolfman. And Wolfman was always probably my favorite. I always loved some Frankenstein's monster, but Wolfman was my dude. The movie just does such a great job of setting atmosphere. Chaney could always be better. Chaney is sometimes a little overboard, but Claude Rains, who plays his father, does always an amazing job. Claude Rains is one of the best actors from that era. Plays the Invisible Man down to a science. But no, I've always been fascinated with Wolfman. I mean, yes.
Wait, who played the Invisible Man?
Claude Rains.
Claude Rains.
I thought that was Chevy Chase.
Oh yeah.
In a John Carpenter movie.
Memoirs of the Invisible.
So you're saying it's better than Silver Bullet?
I never saw Silver Bullet.
Oh my God, you son of a bitch!
Silver Bullet's a fun movie. That's a fun
movie.
But no, it's definitely one of those things. To me, like everybody, and maybe it's because it's played out. Everybody knew Frankenstein. Everybody knew Dracula. I watched. Everybody's got Frankenstein on a list, and I always thought Wolfman was just damn good. I love the story, everything about it. Just a top-notch Universal production. Will, you got something?
No, just those Universal movies, man. I bought that Blu-ray collection, and it's got like all the monster movies. And like in Universal, before they started doing monster movies, they'd have like, I think they got like 4 or 5 Karloff and Lugosi movies together, like Visible Ray and
Black Cat.
Yeah. But like I don't know, I'm curious, like because I don't know if Derrick or Tim would watch those, but like just to see fresh eyes on those, I like that could be something we can look into later on.
I've seen all the originals: the Wolfman, Frankenstein, Dracula, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Porky's.
Is there a single decent one where they tried to restart that universe recently?
Yes, I was going to say that we have to talk about that. That they tried to restart it, and they started with the Tom Cruise Mummy.
Yeah,
and it was awful.
The chick that they got from that, I can't remember her name. Like, she's pretty awesome, but the movie was just terrible. And then like Tom Cruise, like,
it was so bad.
Trying to play somebody that was like 30 years younger than what he was.
Yeah, it didn't make a lot of money, and just like that, we're not getting any of the other monster movies.
But there's other ones. I want to say there's like 3 or 4 they made, didn't they?
You had the Dracula. I think it was Dracula Untold. Is that right?
Yeah.
I don't think that was part of the reboot.
Maybe not.
Was it? I thought that the Mummy was the first one of the reboot.
Well, back in the 90s, Coppola was trying to reboot him. He did Dracula, and
right.
Kenneth Branagh did Frankenstein.
I like those movies. Both of those. I love Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's one of my favorite movies.
Oh yeah, it's a good one.
I mean, it's it had Keanu Reeves in a serious role. Why they cast him, I'll never understand. But
the thing is, but all the other actors are like Richard E. Grant's a cool actor. Cary Ellis is a great actor.
Yeah.
The guy, I can't remember his name, Campbell. The guy who played the Rocketeer, but he's
yeah. Is he the cowboy? Which one? No.
Yeah, Bill Campbell is his name.
I believe so.
Yeah. I'm afraid to touch my computer because my band was fucking.
But yeah, there's just I have a passion for those old movies, those old Universals, and Will mentioned
Why is that, Barry?
I don't know. I think it's I do enjoy the atmosphere a lot. Some of them, there's a lot of flaws to them. I love Dracula for the first 40 minutes of it, and then it goes to a stage play, and kind of runs off the rails. Frankenstein, I think Frankenstein's solid from front to back.
Yeah, I'm not criticizing. I've always wondered why because I know other guys like you too that love the older movies and never been able to get into them.
I got into younger. My friends, when they were watching Friday the 13th, I was watching Frankenstein. So I guess it's a little different. And maybe once you watch them, I try to get Ari to watch them now before she really gets heavy into horror, because I feel like you watch them after you've watched some of the things that are on the list today. They're just tame by comparison, and you don't.
They're good starters.
Yeah,
because they're not really scary.
What was before this? Kind of like the. Yes, they can be production values wise pretty piss poor compared to say some of today's standards, but it's what they worked with then. And I don't know.
It's like Nosferatu. That's old as shit, but it's still. I think it still is good, and his portrayal is so good. It's fucking terrifying when he comes lifting up, and he's fuck that.
Well, did you ever watch the Spanish Dracula?
I think I've watched it in the past. I could not tell you what happens in that movie, but I'm pretty sure I've watched it.
Oh, they just use the same sets as the one with Bela Lugosi in it, the Todd Browning one. But it's just cool because I don't know, they use the same set. I mean, it's a different Dracula, different characters, but it's the same story. But it's just, I don't know, it's weird watching it. It'd be like watching if Fellini did a version of The Godfather and used actual Italian actors.
Is that the one where instead of drinking blood, Dracula drinks margaritas?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh shit.
Y'all being serious? I can't tell.
Yeah, that's what happens. The guy, he forgets his lime or his salt around and he just fucking bites his neck and just drinks his blood. He gets fucking pissed off.
He's so pissed. He forgot the lime and everything.
Yeah. So we got a bunch of zombie movies on here, so let's dive into those, and I guess we can kind of do them chronologically. I put Night of the Living Dead on here. Tim's got Dawn of the Dead and Shaun of the Dead. Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead to me are just like it's 1A, 1B for me. I love them both equally.
And I thought Dawn had a pretty good remake. It wasn't great, but
I love the remake.
I mean, that was what shit. What's his name that did the movie?
Zack Snyder.
Yeah, that's one of Zack Snyder's first movies, wasn't it?
Yes.
The for a first-ish time director, pretty much knocked out of the park.
And I think he kind of got lucky in the casting, because it turns out, you look back at that had some pretty good actors. Had the guy from Modern Family, the guy who was the prick in the movie that was running the mall was the guy from House of Cards. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Is he the guy who won the Oscar for Moonlight?
I don't remember. It's the guy who in House of Cards, he was the guy that would do anything for Frank Underwood on House of Cards. Oh
wait! I'm thinking about the guy who won for Green Book and Moonlight.
No. This is a white dude.
Okay.
I know who you're talking about.
Because he's in House of Cards as well. Sorry.
Yes, but no, it's the guy that worked directly under Frank Underwood. He would kill people for him and shit.
And James Gunn worked on the screenplay with Romero. That's pretty interesting. I gotta watch this again. I mean,
what, the
remake?
remake?
Me some Dawn of the Dead. Yeah, the remake.
It's really
Dawn
good.
Of the Dead is almost 3 hours long.
Is it
the very first one?
Yeah. It's long, so it's one of those things where you watch every 5 years. But Dawn of the Dead
every year, man. I love that movie. It's maybe my second. It's probably my second favorite horror movie. Yeah. Because I think that's what it is. It's that being in the mall, and they kind of develop this life in there. You know,
Mm-hmm.
They're going skating, and they're just kind of living it up.
Not everyone
even
still
though
gets along.
Huh?
And not everyone still gets along. You still have your human issues.
Right. And the other dude is fucking turning into a zombie for half the thing, getting sick. They're wheeling him around in a wheelbarrow to help him kill people, help him kill zombies.
Well,
I love
also, if you go back and look at that mall, it's almost like it's science fiction, but those malls kind of had. They had an ammunition store in the mall.
Yeah.
And I just now remember this because it's something I wrote down when I was taking notes on my top 5. I don't know if you all remember this in The Exorcist, but there's an Exorcist in the very first Nightmare on Elm Street. This happens, where they're in a hospital and a doctor's giving a diagnosis in both those movies, and a character gets a cigarette out and lights it up in the hospital, and for some reason that cracks me up. It's whenever I saw somebody smoking in Mad Men, it would make me laugh like that. Just thinking wow, that lady's pregnant and she's got a cigarette in her mouth.
It is different because in Dawn of the Dead, like I said, they're ice skating. There's a fucking skating rink at the mall. The 70s were just different, man.
Well, no, even back say 80s, I remember at do y'all remember at Fayette Mall there used to be the pits?
The pits.
So in the the giant hallways where the stores are all around, there used to be what they call the pits. It was a lowered area with seating, and there's nothing but fucking husbands down there and kids. And and my dad would be down there in the pit, and there's nothing like that now. Every square inch of the fucking mall is occupied by stores now.
Yeah. I just remember that they had the arcade Aladdin's Castle.
Oh yeah,
I loved Aladdin's Castle.
I had at least one birthday at Aladdin's Castle.
With Dawn of the Dead, I grew up watching Night of the Living Dead, and it was cool to see country farmhouse to urban mall, which I thought was an interesting change.
Yeah.
Very similar. I mean, with Night of the Living Dead, you had the child that had been bitten or scratched that was stuck in the cellar with the mom and dad.
They're hiding and protecting her.
Yeah, hiding and protecting her, and then there's just some brutal ass stuff in that movie. They go to try to refuel the truck to get out, and the truck catches on fire.
Yeah.
When the gas pump starts, and we're getting away. It's like, you're not getting away. You're about to fucking explode.
Yeah.
And then I always forget somehow. As many times as I've watched it, I always forget how it ends, because I always think, no, he's good. He'll get out. And then I see the guys walking the fields, and I'm like, shit. Yeah, he takes a bullet, doesn't he?
Or how about the fact that, like, the asshole in the movie that was trying to get everybody to go in the basement, turns out he was right.
Right.
I mean, like, that's the fight. That's the asshole character that said, "Hey guys, let's go in the basement," and the argument that Dwayne Johnson said, "We're not Dwayne." That's his name.
The Rock.
No. Excuse me. The guy, the Dwayne.
What is his name?
Dwayne Jones.
I think it's Dwayne. Yeah, Jones.
Sorry, guys.
Tony Todd in the remake.
Yeah. Dwayne Jones, like, was the one saying, "Hey, look, upstairs is how to go," and if they would have followed that, they all got. The basement was the place to go. But
what I liked was this. So, like, they couldn't find the compromise, which was, hey, let's go upstairs where we could cut off all the zombies from coming up the stairs, and there's also an exit by going out the windows. But no one could figure that one out.
Yeah, you're right. They could have, like, tore up the steps, couldn't they?
Yeah. I like in the remake where I think everyone has to, like, flee or something, like things go bad. And I remember the girl's outside. She's like, "The fuck? We can just, like, walk past these." And there's, like, this one, like, really old lady. She just keeps pushing her away whenever she gets close. And I like they kind of played with that idea. Didn't the ending kind of touch on racism? Weren't they, like, a bunch of good old boys having a good time killing a black man or something? I thought that was part of it.
For some reason, I had that same idea, and I kept thinking that racism had kind of been sewn into the script, but there's no part of that movie that puts off that vibe, and I don't know where I got that.
I swear
because I always thought the
remake kind of touched on.
I'm talking about the original.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well,
maybe. Go ahead, Will.
No, just because it came out in 1968. In 1968, that was the year that, like, Martin Luther King got killed, and I think it was the same year Malcolm X got killed. So there's probably something in the air, and also because, I mean, the people who would probably survive a zombie apocalypse are probably the assholes that would be like the bad guys in Mad Max movies, the ones that, like, are scavengers and they're traveling together and they're shooting zombies for fun, and they probably, and I don't think that they killed that character in Night of the Living Dead because of racism. I think they just saw something moving and they shot it. They just automatically, and it's like, like, when you got to that point, like, you can't, you're not gonna get close enough to go, "Hey, are you a zombie? Did you get bit?" And most people, like, as we know, like, with the current situation right now, most people don't know what the fuck they got.
Right.
Well, there's two things
about the coronavirus, in case you are watching this in the far future.
The 2-part ending, though. So, like, he gets shot, and you're like, "Oh shit, twist!" And then you go, like, because they're kind of minor characters throughout the movie. You kind of get an update on what they're doing, and you start thinking about how many people they just straight murdered, and you're like, "Oh shit, that's even a lot worse than the protagonist getting shot at the end of this movie."
Oh, no, yeah, the remake, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll say the remake. It's the girl. The girl is going around with the guys that are cleaning things up, and they get to the basement, and the shitty white dude is down there, and comes out, and she just kills him because he's such a piece of shit. And it's like,
yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Was because I didn't remember that happening in the original.
Well, in the original, the black guy just shoots him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then he stumbles down the stairs. I think as he's dying, that's when his daughter turns and eats him. So and then the guy comes downstairs and handles her, and then she kills the dad and eats him, and then the mom comes down, I believe, and she kills her with the garden tool. So when Dwayne Jones comes down, that's when he's got to take care of business and handles them both. So, Tim, what about Shaun of the Dead?
It's just maybe the best zombie movie ever. I mean, it's so well because it's making jokes about the zombie genre, but at the same time, it's a serious zombie movie, and I just love that so much. I love, the mistakes he makes. They're so obsessed with getting to the bar, and then they get there and it's just a shitstorm, and I don't know. There's just nothing about that movie that I don't like. Nothing about that movie that I don't like. It's to me, it's a perfect movie.
That was one of the two movies on this list that everybody was like, it's the fucking greatest thing you ever seen. You have to watch it, and I didn't for the longest time. Cabin in the Woods was the other one, but when I finally saw Shaun of the Dead, I was like, wow. Because I didn't know anything about, was it Simon Pegg?
Yeah.
So I knew nothing about him. I didn't know. I'd heard of the movie, but it kind of I wasn't into a zombie comedy. I was kind of like, no, it should be a zombie movie, zombies. And then for some reason, just had a chip on my shoulder against it, and I finally watched it, and I was like, man, it's just. It's just a perfect mixture of all that. It's the perfect pie.
Yeah, because it's funny, but it's also serious. Like when he goes to get his parents, and he sees that the stepdad is bitten, and is getting sick. Like there's an actual dramatic moment there where he's talking to his stepdad, he's talking to his mom, he's trying to tell her, Mom, we've got to leave him, and she's like, no, he's my husband, and it's.
Well, it's like I think doesn't he kind of hates his stepdad, but in that moment he gets compassion and empathy for him.
So
and then the scene where he's hell bent on going to get his girlfriend back, and you see him climbing, and you're like, oh wow, he's gonna climb up all the way. And then the next scene is him knocking on the door again because he couldn't make the climb.
And didn't he bring all the zombies to him basically?
Every one of them, yep. He fucks everything.
They were fine until he got there and all the zombies are outside. He's like, well, I guess we got to leave now. Got to go to the bar. I can't remember the name of the bar.
Winchester?
Winchester.
Yeah. Quick story about, to go back real quick to Night of the Living Dead, is I got to watch that when I was 7 years old. Do you guys, I'm sure you guys remember, on Friday nights, they'd have Fright Night or the Friday Night Late Flick, and on different channels. And I was staying with my aunt's house with some older cousins, and so I'm 6 years younger than every one of my cousins. And they're all like, hey, we're staying up late and watching Night of the Living Dead. And I'm like, He-Man is cool, and I like Transformers. And oh God, and all of a sudden I'm watching this black and white zombie movie, and it scared the shit out of me as a kid. I shouldn't have been watching that at 7 years old. But anyway, yeah, Shaun of the Dead's great. I don't hear Will chime in. I'm worrying that Will doesn't like Shaun of the Dead.
No, I love Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, okay.
Shaun of the Dead, I watched my birthday. I usually take a couple of days off and just fuck around and enjoy myself, watch movies. And that year, I bought Shaun of the Dead and Team America World Police. And those, I watched. I went back and forth. If we did a top 10 list from that year, those two would be on that list.
Absolutely,
that was a good year for you.
Yeah, I was so. I think that was the year that Tim, you and I, and Ken went and watched Batman in the theater, the Christian Bale one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. if I'm not mistaken. That could be off a year, but like those like Team America and Shaun of the Dead made me laugh.
The puking scene in Team America is one of my top 10 all-time funniest scenes.
That and the sex scene.
Yeah, just pile driving her, just pile driving,
pooping on her face and shit.
In terms of Shaun of the Dead being that great homage to like previous horror zombie movies and doing a twist on it, D had Cabin in the Woods, I believe. So why is Cabin in the Woods great?
It's just a amalgamation of like all the horror movies, and kind of pokes fun at it, but it's still kind of got its horror aspects, and it also kind of throws the horror thing on the end because you have the guy that you think dies off screen, and he also is kind of like the worthless person that always dies at the beginning and was never had a chance, and he's the one that kind of saves the day and everything. And I guess also the big twist ending is like just it ups the ante because you think it's like, oh, it's just kind of like it's an interesting movie because you have all the scenes of the people in the the room that are doing the work, and you're like, and you can't figure out what the fuck's going on with them. You're like, why does it keep flipping back to these people and how are they involved? And then when it explains how they're involved, like, damn, that's kind of deep.
And like they have the shields, like I guess it's kind of like domed off. So like the entire time I'm watching, I watched it 9 years later, and I watched it last fall, I think, and I'm like, what's going on? I could not figure out what I was watching, and it was driving me nuts that I could not figure out what I was watching.
Oh, and Thor's death scene is so fucking great.
Isn't that when you first realize something weird's up? Is that scene where he rides the motorcycle? He's going to be the hero, and then he just flies.
Well, like early on, you see like a bird flies into the force field wall, but you're kind of like, what the fuck? But you don't think much about it. But then he does it, you're like, holy shit! He's like the big, strong, enigmatic hero, and the ballsy one, and he tries to do the ballsy thing and dies a pretty fucking shitty death, bouncing all the way down.
And then when you see the other like countries and their whole thing, and you see when all the monsters and shit are escaping and everything's breaking down, and it's taking different characters from different movies. Like it's like in the Japan scene, don't they have like the girl from The Ring kind of thing, like
one of the hair monsters?
It reminds me of those things you see on Facebook. We've done a couple of them where like mostly it's and I've seen mostly horror. I've not seen other ones, but where they'll have just a drawing of just different random items. You're like, oh, that's Dracula's. That's the cape from Dracula. Oh, that is the jigsaw mask from Saw.
Yeah.
And that you can pause that and play that game all day long when you kind of see like the whole entire scope of every monster that they're throwing out.
Well, and this is when Left 4 Dead was really big. So they had a bunch of Left 4 Dead, the game, monsters in there. Then you have, like the Hellraiser, instead of like a dude with nails in his head, he has like kind of saw blades through his head. And you have all these different monsters that are like just a slight variance of like what was in the movies. It was really cool.
Will, Cabin in the Woods?
I've never seen it.
What?
All right,
never seen. Oh man!
From the chat.
Now
I wish we hadn't told you all this stuff. That movie.
Well, we didn't. We still kind of didn't really explain.
The thing is, I don't think like you. It was weird. It was because I was like, these guys are going to spoil it for me. I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want it for conversation. But I don't understand. I didn't understand what was going on. I probably would watch the movie and go, oh, okay, that's what they're talking about now.
Yeah, we didn't. I tried to like avoid spoiling, what the actual
it's just
is or what the people are doing in the room. Because it's neat because you're watching it and it flips back and forth from like the people in the movie and then people in like a control board.
Difference, yeah.
And
like a DEF CON.
And they're sitting there talking, and it's interesting because they do that throughout the entire beginning of the movie
without ruining it.
The end. And so you're like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what are these people up to?
Well, it's a very original movie.
Yeah, you can definitely still watch it and be intrigued by everything after hearing what we said.
Well, isn't there's There's somebody famous the Josh Whedon write it or something, or
I believe so. That sounds right.
It's produced by Joss Whedon.
Okay. That for some reason, like he's one of those dudes I'm hot and cold on. Like there's times where I love him, and there's times where I fucking hate him. And I think that when that movie came out, I think I hate him at the time. I kind of hate him right now, because like the political shit. But like I don't know, I'll give it a shot. I like Firefly, and I like the first couple seasons of Buffy.
It definitely is just one of those, like, you got to get to it, because I mean I put it off for a long while, and when I finally watched it, I was like, why'd I wait so long, man? This was like, I mean, it could have easily been my top 5 movie, and I think it was one of my subs.
It was one of mine too.
God, it's so good.
Yeah, I was thinking, I love the scene with the whore, basically.
Hold on, don't ruin it for Will.
Well, it's not gonna ruin anything. Where she's making out with the wolf, mounted wolf head. I think it's a wolf head. There's like a wolf head mounted on the wall, like like a trophy head or whatever, and they dare her to make out. Then she starts going to town on it, tongue and everything. You're like, oh my god.
So speaking on some newer movies, Dee, do you want to also discuss It Follows and Hereditary? Since I've not seen either.
I don't know if I can explain It Follows before without giving it away, but that one is just like pure dread, and I thought it was like
Hereditary is?
No, It Follows.
Oh, It Follows.
I thought It Follows was like a really good, unique idea, because I can't think of anything that was like it in a movie. And it's, I don't know if you could watch it with the kids, because it doesn't have sex, but it involves sex. But
do you know anything about it all, Barry?
Say what?
Do you know anything at all about It Follows?
No, I do. I'm looking at it now, trying to figure out like.
Okay, well here I'll try it without spoiling. It's an STD, and like and when it follows, like in everybody here seen Evil Dead 2, right?
Yeah.
When the camera's following Bruce, chasing him through the I think it's called the Force in Evil Dead, but like it's chasing Bruce Campbell through the cabin. And it's a point of view, and like you can't see what's chasing Bruce Campbell, but he can see it, and he's running from it.
Yeah,
that's how it follows. So it's a STD, and it follows like this crazy point of view thing, and it's a crazy great like horror movie. Like,
sounds good.
I think it's good because it's not so much like one of those movies like we were talking about earlier where people can never win, but it's like when you see the people in the situation, you're like, how the fuck can they win? How can they survive? Like, without just like forever, like, it's like, having somebody out, it's like, I guess, having, Michael Myers, or more like Jason Voorhees hates you with a passion and wants you to die. And you're like, it doesn't matter how I kill him, I'll always be running my entire life and looking over my shoulder. So that's why I love that movie. Now, Hereditary, and I had it on my short list as well. Both those movies, I feel like when I was watching them, I was like, God, this movie is so fucking just evil, like straight up evil. And Hereditary, I don't know, it's probably one of the best horror movies, definitely of modern times, I think, overall. And it's there's no way to explain it. It's just so fucked up, and like I don't know if I'd watch that one with the kids because it's messed up and like has scenes that will fucking stick with you.
Oh, it's got my girl Toni Collette in it.
I saw that.
Yeah, she does excellent in it, and
she is a great actress.
Yeah, and there's no way I can explain with it. Even if I try to explain it and not worry about giving it away, it's just completely messed up. It's supernatural and kind of religious based, not like Christian religion, but like obscure religion based. But I would definitely put it on your short list to watch because it's fucking insane.
Everything that's on this list today, I'm going to be probably rewatching or watching for the first time because yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah. We haven't talked to Will in a bit. Speaking of fucked up, what about Seven, Will?
The thing is about Seven is that it's a horror movie that like it can't work. It couldn't work in any other era than it did because it's post Silence of the Lambs, and it was the first like like a horror drama movie since Silence of the Lambs that worked as good as Silence of the Lambs. Because considering that like you don't really see anything, you only see the aftermath, like of a couple of the brutal things that happen in that movie, like the sloth thing where the guy's in the room with the air fresheners.
Yeah,
I mean like, and what's weird is that like it's a buddy cop movie too, but it doesn't seem like they really like each other at all. And it doesn't seem like that would work, like, because Morgan Freeman's just like he's watching the door because he knows he's gonna retire soon, and Brad Pitt's that piss and vinegar rookie that wants to get the shit done and plays by his own rules. Yeah. But by the end of the movie, like the one that's breaking the rules is Morgan Freeman, and the one that's trying to follow the book is Brad Pitt. And the only hard part about that movie right now, like in rewatching it, was the Kevin Spacey factor. And like and because I know you're probably supposed to separate the artist from the art, but I just can't. And like because you see how brilliant he is from that era. We talked about the great runs like earlier about Carpenter having that run and Hitchcock having that run. Kevin Spacey had the equivalent run for being an actor from Glengarry Glen Ross to American Beauty.
Yeah. It's we could almost do a whole conversation on just that because for my money, when you talk about like stuff being ruined because of who the person is, Kevin Spacey to me probably has the most. How should I put this? He has the most good stuff that is ruined.
Yeah.
House of Cards was one of my favorite shows, and it's like, wow, it's hard to watch now.
What's funny is I've never watched it, and it's always kind of been on the list things to watch, and now I don't want to watch it because
dude, the first two seasons of
what a scumbag he is,
incredible. But like, if you put that up against, if you were to say, well, Michael Jackson's music is ruined because of him, I would take watching Spacey's movies over Michael Jackson's music. Or R. Kelly, or Cosby, so what? I lose the fucking Cosby show. What the fuck do I care?
Well, can you not watch
Ghost Dad?
Leonard Part 6.
Ghost Dad's ruined. Yeah.
Ghost Dad. Ghost Dad was a great movie too.
Such a great catalog there. It's how can you say that?
The seven, and the thing is, like, endings and movies are so hard to do because everything's been done.
Yeah.
And now like the History of Violence, There Will Be Blood, No Country for Old Men kind of endings, they're becoming passe now too because those movies really don't end.
Right.
But like Seven has the best end to a movie I've ever fucking seen. Like like it, and I without spoiling it in case anybody listened to it and this like ever doesn't watch Seven, but like I brought that up when after the 2016 election because like there's in Seven there's a scene where there's a character that's going to be fucked up for the rest of his life over something he saw, and the other character is basically going to have to spend the rest of his life taking care of this friend. Like that dealing with this trauma, and I said like in 2016 that like well we gotta be the people taking care of the people who are gonna go through this fucking trauma because it's gonna be a rough couple years. It turned out I was more right than ever.
And that also shows Brad Pitt's acting chops there at the end. I mean, yes. you feel it with him. You know what I mean? You're like, God damn.
Well, I mean, because that like when I was talking about The Exorcist earlier, like if you look at the climax of that movie of Seven and The Exorcist, like like it's two cops and a dude in the middle of the fucking desert. Like it shouldn't work as well as it does for a horror movie because usually horror movies take place in the dark, and Seven, like while it was kind of grungy outside, most of the shit took place during the day.
Hey, Will, who wrote that and directed that?
I can't remember the guy's name who wrote it, but David Fincher directed it.
Okay.
And
Andrew Kevin Walker.
Yeah, and interesting, like bizarrely enough, David Fincher was also one of the main producers on House of Cards. So that's weird how that tied together.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but you're talking about Seven. I just thought of this movie that I think is a pretty good horror movie. Is Fallen with Denzel Washington.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Where you have the guy that can he's like basically a demon, I guess, and he can like go through. He just has to touch someone to get into their body and take them over and everything.
Yeah, it sounds stupid, but when you watch it, it's kind of fun.
That's one of those movies where like he can take over someone close to him and just do awful things, and it's like also one of those movies you're watching and you're like, how the fuck does this guy get out of the situation? Like, how does he win?
He doesn't.
He doesn't. Like you could spend years trying to figure out how this guy wins, and he's trying to figure out in like a handful of days how to win the situation.
I was thinking about Fallen's actually one of those movies I saw in the theater, but I didn't remember much of. And like there's a Denzel meme, like where him acting shocked, and like I asked a couple months ago where I ended up buying Fallen because of that meme. Like that thing that they do in that movie where it goes from body to body. Like, can you all name other movies where that happened in? Because I came up with 3 other ones, but I'm curious if there's any more that you all can think of.
Time is on my side.
Okay. Well, there's a movie from the '80s called The Hidden, and it's a science fiction horror movie, but it's alien going from body to body, right? Mm. And then there's a weird movie with Lou Diamond Phillips called The Seventh Sign. And it deals with the same thing where it's a demon going from body to body. And Friday the 13th, Part 9, Jason Goes to Hell, that's one of the things that happens in that movie, where Jason goes from body to body.
Kind of happens in Transformers, the movie. Remember, they all keep getting infected? Wait, is that in the movie, or was that just an episode?
I don't know.
I can't remember about that.
It's where no, that's the Return of Optimus Prime. Rodimus Prime gets infected. Remember, they all turn red and they're like all pissed and they fight each other, and then Optimus Prime comes back and saves the day.
Not at all.
You guys don't remember that?
I think you dreamed it.
I wasn't a big
no. That was a huge part of my childhood.
That explains everything about you,
dude. Whenever I make jokes about God, my God is Optimus Prime. And he sent Frank Stallone back to Earth to die for our sins.
It all makes sense. Think about it.
Do we have any other subjects besides movies for this?
Well, I was going to say, we've still got a couple left here. And then someone I've never seen before is Serpent and the Rainbow. I think it's...
I swear
man.
I don't think so. Will tell us about it.
Check that out, man.
Man, that movie scares the fuck out of me.
It'll fuck with you.
Yeah, it does that thing where you can't really tell if the characters, if you're in the character's reality or if you're in the character's dream.
Yeah.
And it's actually it's weird that when we watched it, there's shit I didn't remember. Well, that I guess I didn't notice, but the whole point of the movie is Big Pharma is sending Bill Pullman to Haiti to try to get a drug that turns people into zombies to be used as a cheap anesthetic. And Bill Pullman goes over there, and there's this crazy militia that's taking people prisoners, and the actor I talked about earlier, who's the scariest man on the planet, he's a leader of the militia. And it's got like it's weird, like when I was going through the thing where I was going through movies year by year, 1988 had a couple weird things pop up, and it had the two best movies I've ever seen about being buried alive. The original Vanishing and Serpent and Rainbow, they both have fucking scenes where somebody's buried, and I don't know, it scares the shit out of me. It scares the shit out of me, like when we were talking about The Descent earlier. Like, you couldn't pay me enough money to go caving, and if somebody offered me like millions of dollars to be in a casket and be buried for like an hour, I couldn't do it.
I couldn't either, man, because of those movies.
If I ever win the lottery, I know what to
vanish.
Well, and there's a great movie that Ryan Reynolds is in called Buried. I think the whole movie is him inside of a casket.
Oh, and, really?
Yes, and it's amazing. But I've only watched it once, and it scared the fuck out of me.
Yeah, those are the kind of movies. No,
I could see where Barry has seen it. Yeah, it's a lot like a Phone Booth, where the entire, and it's even more so than Phone Booth, where like the entire movie is him buried. Him is like the camera in the casket with him, and like the only lighting you'll get is if he like lights his lighter, I believe, or something. Or
he's got a lighter and he's got a cell phone and a flashlight, I think.
And what's it called?
All kinds, huh?
What's it called?
Buried.
This sounds like the kind of movie that would scare the piss out of me.
It doesn't scare me, and believe me, I'm claustrophobic enough, but it's a good movie because yeah, I mean it's a good movie that's all just like Phone Booth. I think is not traditional. It's all
the psychological stuff is the stuff that scares me more than anything.
Yeah.
Like I think we talked about this before. Like Johnny, Get Your Gun.
Oh yeah.
That movie to me is the scariest movie I've ever watched. I can't fathom being that guy. It's too much for me. I didn't even finish watching it. I was watching it with
heard of that movie.
Oh, yeah, I was watching it with our friend Ken, and yeah, I got up at one point and said, "Dude, I can't watch this anymore, man."
You remember? It's the Metallica 1 video. They used excerpts from it and tell the story, but he's just a torso, right? He's just a torso.
Yeah, it's like he's from, what was it, World War I or World War II or something, and he'd been in an explosion, and he has no arms, no legs.
Oh, okay.
He can't talk.
The Metallica video.
I don't know if he can hear either.
He can hear.
Like he can hear, okay, but he can't talk, and the only way he can communicate is just kind of moving his head around a little bit.
Well, there's a.
You learn how to do Morse code through some of his movements or something.
Yeah, that's how it ends.
Well, there's a movie that came out that's based on a true story that has a similar premise to Johnny Got His Gun. It's called The Diving Bell and the Butterfly. Have you guys seen this movie?
I think you've talked about this before.
Man, this movie, if you ever want to feel like a piece of shit that hasn't accomplished anything, this is that's
dude. That's when I wake up on a Tuesday. That's
no. Oh, okay. This guy it's based on a true story. This guy, he was like he's the editor of like a French fashion magazine, and he got a promotion, and like he's out driving with his son in this new car he got, and he has a stroke, and he gets he wakes up in the hospital, and the only thing he has control over is his left eye. And his very compassionate nurse, like, she rearranged the alphabet so the letters were, the most common letters were, like, you know, he'd be able to blink or blink twice. That'd be the end of a word. And he wrote a book with his fucking eye.
This is a true story?
Yes.
Oh,
like,
wow.
He wrote a whole book with his left eye, I think. And a very compassionate patient nurse, and and he had, I mean, and it's weird because it's a funny movie too, because there's a lot of comedy in it. I mean, you wouldn't think that would be like a funny thing, but like, it's a the only reason it probably suffered, like when it came out, it's one, it's French and it's subtitled, and two, it came out the same year as a bunch of other cool movies. Like that was the year No Country for Old Men, There Will Be Blood, Juno, Sweeney Todd, all these really just cool badass movies. But
even
like, you know,
more amazing is the book he wrote was Moby Dick.
No, he wrote the book that the movie's based on. It's this weird conundrum thing.
Wow.
I just want someone to join this out of context, and here we'll say he wrote an entire book with his left eye.
Yeah.
People
Someone
going,
fast forwards, like, what are these guys talking about? And then they hear that.
So here's my two questions of it. The two questions are: did the nurse really write the book?
Yeah.
Or how did the nurse, if she didn't write the book, not just be like, yeah, I wrote this fucking book?
Or
And
even better, while he's
was
writing
she good looking?
Yeah.
Well, that's the most important.
Was it even better while he's writing it? He's like, okay, kind of like a Misery type thing, only better, where he's like, you know, blink and this happens, and she's like, you know, it'd be better if this happens. He's like, no, and he's like, fuck you, you're the one that's catatonic, and like, I'm gonna write this.
There's a scene in the movie where he's watching soccer, and like and I guess he's like, you know, the whole movie, like you hear the inner monologue of his voice, right? And like and I guess the soccer game's causing his blood pressure to go batty, and the doctor turns the TV off because, and like you go, no, you motherfucker, and like, and it's funny because he had to write that scene with his eye.
So bizarre.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Check this out. I found a little clip of it here. I'm gonna have to watch it when we get off here. But Tim, I missed your fifth pick, so I have no idea what it was.
1408.
Yeah. So what's 1408?
You've never seen that?
I've never seen 1408. I don't think. Oh, I remember it now. I think.
Yeah,
I think
really.
you saw it. I made you watch it, probably.
To me, what makes 1408 so great is the build up. Like the first half hour of the movie or so is the build up, and it's fucking good. It's like it's Cusack, and Cusack is a guy who like goes around and writes. He stays at places that are like supposed to be haunted, and he writes books about it.
And he debunks them too.
Yeah, he debunks them. He doesn't believe in any of it. And then he goes to this hotel, this famous hotel, and he wants to stay in this room, and they won't let him. And the guy running the hotel is Samuel L. Jackson, and he basically has to like bargain with Samuel L. Jackson to stay there. Samuel L. Jackson starts giving him the stories about all the crazy shit that had happened in the room over the years, and you're sitting there. At least for me, I'm sitting there watching it. It's like, fuck this, man. Just don't stay. Just stay in a different room and tell your readers that you stayed there. This something bad's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And he stays there, and then it doesn't go over the top immediately. Like little things happen.
Yeah, it
like
starts
clock radio goes off, you know.
Well, yeah, there's things that
playing
go
the same
off
song.
where he's like, "Oh, you assholes, you all set this up," or like, you know, you're calling me to mess with me.
Yes.
I love the scene where the AC is out of whack. I can't remember if it's like too cold or hot.
Yeah, and the guy won't come in.
And he's like waiting for him to come in. He's like, I ain't go in that room. He's like, I'll tell you how to fix it from here, from the hallway.
Yes. Have you seen that movie, Will?
Man, for some reason, like you talking about it, I remember these scenes, but he wrote that.
He wrote a book. Short.
No, he wrote a book called On Writing, where he's trying to give people lessons on how to write books.
Who, Stephen King?
Yeah, and 1408 was just a goofy exercise that he wrote. I think was for that book, and like when he was editing On Writing, he ended up going, "Hey, this is all right," and then he ended up turning it into a novella or a short story.
Yeah,
well, it's like,
but
an oddball movie that I like a lot is Dreamcatcher, and that was based off of like a nothing short by him, wasn't it?
I think that's a big novel because I remember that was the first audiobook I ever saw that we could buy it, and it was like 26 CDs. So I think it's one of his It's one of those monster books like The Stand and Insomnia.
Jeez.
I think, anyway.
He wrote my favorite book of the last 10 years that wasn't a horror movie. It was the 11/22/63.
My mother-in-law watched that and loved it, and I did not.
No. The series was terrible, but the book is incredible. But it's it's like 1,200 pages.
I think she was the one. I think she watched it. She does read a lot, but I think she watched
if you didn't read the book and you just watched the series, you might like it. But if you read the book, you'd be pissed. Gotcha. Just like the biggest thing of that for me ever is fucking what is it? Lincoln versus Vampires or something like that.
Oh, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Yeah, that book is great.
Oh yeah,
that book is really great. It's not
awful.
Yeah, the book takes it serious. It's not goofy, and it gives you all these little tidbits about history, and it's historically accurate. It'll give you something that is historically accurate, and then it'll be like, but this one dude was a vampire. Like, that's it. But then the movie's terrible. And for some reason, silver bullets are used to kill vampires in the fucking movie. Like, hello? No, that's werewolves. We all know this, you jackasses.
I remember when they were first talking about that being a movie, or they're showing teasers, and there's so many people excited about it, talking about how amazing it is. And it sounds stupid, just by title. I remember all these people were excited about it. Then the movie came out, and the movie's just so awful and hokey and over the top with the action and shit.
I think we left the theater. I think we left at one point. And I wanted to leave. Did you guys ever see The Box? It's a horror movie.
Yeah.
I wanted to leave.
Did Donnie Darko.
The Box is in my top 5 all-time worst movies. And I was on a first date, and she wanted to stay and keep watching it. And I remember being like, well, there's no way we're going to work, because I wanted to leave the theater. I was like, no, fuck this. Let's go. And
that's a risky movie to pick on a first date, even if you don't know what it is, what it's going to be.
I didn't know, man. Yeah. I didn't know.
So to circle back around, back off 1408, especially with the kind of the haunted supernatural, we'll get back on the House on Haunted Hill, which is my last pick. That Derrick called out, predicted before I could get it out of my mouth. But something about House on Haunted Hill, I think it was one of those things where it hit me when I kind of loved horror as a kid, but I was more of an outdoor kid. And it took me until I was like 13 or 14 when I finally started like being more indoors, being more of sitting on my computer all day type of thing. And around that same time, I just started getting into horror movies, and I want to say it was because of House on Haunted Hill. I want to say AMC played it about 8 o'clock on Halloween night for a couple of years straight, it seemed like. But I had caught it and knew Vincent Price, of course, from Thriller. And I remember seeing him at Edward Scissorhands, knew who he was, knew that he was a horror icon guy, but didn't know much more about him than that. And watched it, loved it. It is a little strange, as Dee mentioned earlier, you talking about what's going on. Is this a plot? And people are trying to use these practical effects to scare the shit out of people. Definitely, it's a supernatural house. So I mean, there's a setup there that's involved. You got things that happen that like it would be really hard to pull off. The ending is a little corny, with Vincent Price coming out of the shadows, wearing his puppeteer stuff as he is moving this skeleton out of the acid pit to scare his wife. But it's just, I don't know, it's classic 101 haunted house. You've got everybody in there is just kind of charged up. No one knows. They supposedly don't know each other, so there's a lot of trust issues going on. Price is always Price, so he's just kind of a little weird and a little off-putting. And the setting's just a great little setting. And of course, William Castle, the great showman, is always finding the next gimmick. I don't know. I think it was more or less a nostalgic, because of this, we're doing a top 5 list today. And I like horror movies because of this movie. It sounds crazy, but it really
I can't believe that you like that one more than the remake with Liam Neeson.
the
Neeson
remake
wasn't
with Liam Neeson.
Wasn't that Liam Neeson?
Nah.
They did
What's
that.
fucking-
I mean,
I don't even know who
they
he was on.
remade one where Liam Neeson's at a house and everybody comes to it. What is that?
The Haunting.
Isn't that the same premise?
No, the Hauntings, a movie by Robert Wise, came out in like '63, and it's a haunted horror movie, but it's considered like a great movie because Robert Wise was a pretty good director. The House on Haunted Hill is basically considered garbage because it was a drive-in movie because William Castle made fun movies, but they weren't really considered great movies, like The Tingler, House on Haunted Hill, Straight Jacket. There's a great 13 Ghosts. I like that movie. There's a really good one called Homicidal that's got a great twist in it. I don't want to spoil it. And then there's another great one called I Saw What You Did, and it's a crazy great movie. Like I've watched it so many times. It's almost like a precursor. It's a phone horror movie like Scream and I Saw It and When a Stranger Calls and Black Christmas. It falls in line with that. It's these girls that get a phone and they start prank calling people, and they actually prank call a guy who's about to murder his wife, and it's a really. Have you ever seen it, Barry?
I've not seen it.
What is it called?
I Saw What You Did.
Oh, that sounds like a great premise.
Last summer.
But no, yeah, Castle's an interesting fella. He is he's just the schlocky Hitchcock wannabe with like a little Carney mixed in. But he was the guy, Tim. I mean, always you see in theaters, like the Tingler, for instance. He actually installed in select theaters, obviously, like shock devices in the seats. So at the moment of impact, they'd set those shocks off. In House on Haunted Hill, Vincent Price is puppeteering this skeleton out of the acid pit that's supposed to be him as a ghost to scare his wife to death. And they would swing the skeleton in the theater at the crowd.
Oh, really?
So, like, he was the ultimate showman. And there's a Matinee is a terrible movie, but I do love it and I have maybe it's because of the castle. But John Goodman plays William Castle, a William Castle knockoff, where he comes to town during the Cuban Missile Crisis. He comes down into Florida, some Florida town, and everybody's afraid that the Russians are gonna light the sky up with missiles, and he's come to show his new production. And not to spoil it, but it's so Castle-esque. I mean, it's just a great little story. The acting outside of John Goodman's horrific. It's fun. It's a fun movie to watch.
See, on my short list, I actually had the remake of House on Haunted Hill. It's not a great movie, but it's a creepy movie, and I remember that was one of the first. That may have been one of the first movies, and I think it was me, you, and Todd maybe.
I think it was just me and you.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the movies I saw with surround sound at home, because this will show like the age. I remember if you remember the store Hills, they went out of business, and when they were going out of business, they were getting rid of everything, and we got the surround sound system for real cheap. That was pretty rare to have in a household, and so we had that in the basement set up, and the surround sound worked really fucking well at that movie, having like creepy sounds behind you, and I think that movie works excellent for having creepy audio and visual throughout the movie, and like just.
Who is the Vincent Price character in that?
Jeffrey Rush.
Yeah, I mean, you have like a lot of actors in it. You have Joffrey Rush, Famke Janssen, Taye Diggs.
Okay.
And Ali
I knew I'd seen that. That's right.
Me and D watched it. So we watched it. His old basement setup was there's a kind of a big open space and then a cluster behind the couch. And there was a closet where the air unit was that I think you could walk through if you were skinny enough.
You kind of walk through. I mean, you had to walk around the HVAC, but yeah.
And then there's a bathroom, and then around the corner, if you can picture this rectangle basement area where we're hanging out in, the little strip of HVAC, and then his dad's tool room, tool shop. And that movie, the surround sound hit, and I was hearing whispers And I was like, somebody's in this fucking house, Steve. Pause the movie. Like, we have to go check it out.
Yeah, it sounds like
got
it's
it multiple
another room
times
behind you and shit.
Oh my god!
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome.
There's Barry. You had Rosemary's Baby on your list too, didn't you?
Yeah, that's my number one. I think Rosemary's just kills it.
Okay, well, here's the weird thing. Do you know the connection between House on Haunted Hill and Rosemary's Baby?
I do not.
In Rosemary's Baby, when she's getting a phone call and she's in the phone booth, and you hear the voice where she's having the conversation with the guy, there's a white-haired guy standing behind Mia Farrow.
Mm-hmm.
That's William Castle.
I'm thinking that I may have noticed that when watching that movie. Because
he produced Rosemary's Baby.
Okay.
And but they wouldn't let him direct it because they knew what he was going to do with it. They know they'd have some vibrators in the chair or something like that during a sex scene, and there'd be something schlocky to it, and the Ira Levine, the person that wrote Rosemary, the same author wrote Rosemary's Baby, wrote The Stepford Wives.
You say Avril Lavigne?
Ira Levine.
That's what I heard too.
I heard Avril Lavigne's like, man, how old was she when she wrote that?
And that author, even though Ira Levine wrote goofy books, didn't want any goofy, she took them seriously, I think. I think it's a she.
That's that's
It's kind of like the Forrest Gump. The book Forrest Gump is a fucking stupid book, and they turned that into a dramatic masterpiece.
And then they make a sequel book that's like evidently just absolutely horrific.
Well, I mean, in the actual Forrest Gump book, he fucking goes to space. I mean, it's dumb.
Movie's excellent though.
Movie's great. Saw it opening weekend.
I got it too, actually.
Son of a bitch.
So that's our top five. I don't know. We kind of had a lot of interconnecting, which we thought we would. But that was interesting. There's a lot of movies I got to watch now. So
yeah, me too, man. I'm hoping that. Are we gonna post some kind of list of some of these movies we've talked about or something?
Yeah, I could. I've got the list here written down, and I can put some stuff together real fast. And
so
there's so many, like the two on Derrick's list. I haven't seen those. Those sound great. But then we've also talked about some movies just in passing that sound fantastic.
There's a couple on my short list that y'all probably haven't seen. One is Absentia. I think that's the right way to say it. And that one's a really cool one where this girl goes to live with her sister who's pregnant, and her husband just disappeared. And that one's really creepy. And it's kind of I don't know if I'd say it's more indie. I shouldn't say low budget, it's more indie. But it's really well done for an indie movie. Session 9, if you haven't seen it. The Hallow was a really cool movie. That was a movie with a guy and his wife and their kid, their baby, move out to a farmhouse, and it's farmhouse in the middle of nowhere, fucked up shit happens. And then Apostle is an awesome movie. I can't remember I want to say I told Barry to watch it, but maybe not. But Apostle is kind of like Midsummer. If you watch Midsummer, where it's crazy, a person goes out to a crazy cult and tries to infiltrate, and crazy cult shit's happening.
Oh, speaking of crazy cult, how about The Wicker Man?
The remake?
I actually like the remake.
I watched the original recently, and I love the ending's cool. The ending's cool, but it gets I don't know, it just slows down.
If we're going to talk about newer, go ahead.
I'll say I want to say me and you watched it, Barry, The Wicker Man, because
I don't remember ever seeing it until recently.
Well, I didn't really like it. There's only, and I can't remember much about it. The original I'm talking about. There's only one scene that I like in the movie, and that's when the girl's naked and dancing around and beating a drum. It's really hot.
And then how about movies that have just recently came out? That down the road I may change my mind. It could make my list. Is what is the one that where the monsters are there and they can hear? It's got John Krasinski and his wife.
I can't think of the name of that.
Oh, surely you guys have seen that movie.
They're
Heard of it, but
getting ready to make a sequel.
Yeah, they've already made it, but they haven't released it because of the pandemic. You haven't seen that, Barry? Or Will, have you seen that?
Man, I've seen the movie. And I can't
Quiet
remember the
Place.
name of it.
It's A Quiet Place.
Quiet Place. Oh,
Also-
my God, that was good.
Also, I need to bring up something.
Uh-oh.
No. Here's the thing. Like, I remember saying that, like, we should have a top 5 list, and that's it. Like, we've probably mentioned about 60 movies.
Yeah.
I haven't. I follow my own rules for the most part.
I wanted to mention ones that I think that y'all probably haven't seen. Kind of obscure ones are good.
I knew I wouldn't be able to stick to the
As
5.
opposed to just be like,
Yeah, but
hey,
the thing.
Friday the 13th.
But yes, Will is right. And for time's sake, I think it's time to wrap up. Thanks for listening. If you haven't seen any of these movies, I'm sure you've seen most, especially if you're closer to our age or older. But definitely check them out. We'll have a list somewhere. Maybe post the video, and then we'll do a little comment with all the movie listings we've talked about. But thanks for tuning in. Until next time, be safe. And
Peace out.
peace.
Wieners.
Wear a mask. Don't be a cunt.
Seriously.